Hello and welcome to a brand new Timberborn series, Series 6 on the channel, and we're finally getting into modded gameplay. A lot of you have really been wanting me to dive into that for quite some time, and I think now is a really good chance to do that now that we have done hard mode on both the Iron Teeth and the Folktails faction. So what we're going to go ahead and do is start a new game. Do it with the Folktails. I feel like I kind of want to do some more aesthetic type building, also something a lot of people wanted to see. I'm going to try out this waterfalls map. I thought that looked nice. And we're just going to go on normal difficulty today because we've done hard past couple of playthroughs, and I want to try and have a little bit more of a focus on just making stuff look nice instead of, hey, how can we survive a 30-day drought? So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as keeping with tradition, we'll call this Beaverburg 6. So let's go ahead and take a look at the map before we get underway here. Go ahead and pause the game. So the waterfalls map is a 128 by 128 map. You've got some different metal and scrap resources, different corners of the map. And of course, up here in this top corner, you have a waterfall with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 source blocks. So plenty of water coming in, gradually narrowing down these cascading waterfalls until you get to this wide river that just goes very directly out this side of the map. And you have a couple different opportunities for catch basins, like right here. And then if you wanted to, you could also come over here and try to divert water, come out this channel and create a secondary stream, which is, I'm sure, something we'll be wanting to do. And then you also have this area down here that you probably could flood if you wanted to, and figure out some way to get past that. But now's probably a good time to go ahead and lay out what our plan is going to be for this series. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, my name is JC the Beard. I am a primarily city builder game player here on YouTube, playing mostly of late Timberborn and other games like Ostriv as well. And what I do is I do very authentic, non-edited gameplay videos. So if that's your vibe, welcome. Glad to have you. If it's not, well, give it a shot. You might like it anyway. We've got a nice community in the comments, and it's always a good time to do stuff like this. So I'm glad to have you on board. Let's go ahead and run down the list of mods that we're going to be using today. And I've downloaded all of these from the links in the modding section of the official Discord. It's going to be, of course, all the regular dependencies that you need to do mods, as well as the extended floodgates mod, water extension, path extension, Dutch windmill, Ferris wheel, vertical power shafts, ladder, more paths, more platforms, dam decoration, staircase, mirrored buildings, and simple floodgate triggers. So clearly a lot to explore and look at. If you go into all of these different menus, we have all sorts of different stuff. We've got weird levee corners, we've got decorative pieces, we've got metal floodgates, we've got a couple of other different things. Of course, the storage hasn't really been modified at all, or housing, but in terms of water stuff, we've got a bigger irrigation tower. We've got what's called a deep sea water pump. 20,000 science. That's a very, very, very long-term thing. We've got an irrigation tower V2. There's a couple things that kind of overlap based on the mods that I've got. But things that I'm actually really interested in, you have this water alarm. It was a problem that I kind of ran into in previous playthroughs, running out of water and not knowing it, so that's going to be useful there. Stream gauge 11 high for, well, big streams, big deep levees and all that. Powered levees. This is something I was really excited about because having to run power shafts all the way across is annoying. And if you want to have different things like, for example, these pumps, mechanical water pumps and all that jazz, then this is something that would be very useful for that. Of course, we have pipes as well, which are interesting to think about possibilities for that. Food hasn't really changed, except you have the Dutch windmill now, which is basically, according to the mod website, just a grist mill that doesn't require flour. It's a little bit more expensive to build, and it requires more science to unlock. Plus, it looks cool, which is one of the things I wanted to look at going into an aesthetic-focused playthrough. And then this stuff is pretty much all the same, just the wood processing, metal processing. Now, in terms of power, this is where we get some really exciting stuff, because we have vertical power shafts, we have different variations of that, and then we also have this universal power shaft, which is going to be interesting when we get to that, to see what kind of different flexibility and design we're going to have. Science, this is all the same except for, the regular Update 3 changes. And then well-being, there's a couple of fun new toys here. We have a Ferris wheel. That's just one of those late-game recreation items that's nice to have, as well as all of the other stuff that normally comes with Update 3. Decoration, I believe this is all the same. The monuments are all the same, and then this is, I don't know why this is here. This is just some other thing from a mod, but I'm really excited about all the different aesthetic possibilities, especially all this decoration. And then also, if you go into paths, I forgot to talk about all this stuff. We have different finishes for paths to make the city look a little bit nicer. Got different staircases, including spirals up to the right and the left, metal stairs, decorative stairs. Ladders is going to be really cool. And of course, we have all these platforms as well as pillars, which are going to be interesting to play with for building vertically. We also have tunnels to go through, say, areas like this. Just build right through the mountain without having to go over it. You have side platforms, reinforced platforms. I can't click on all of these because obviously they have to be unlocked. But that's just a little bit of an example of some of the fun new stuff we have. So, since we're on normal mode, we're going to go ahead and get started right away. We're not going to be as pressed as hard mode necessarily because, it's, well, not going to be as hard. So let's go ahead and get started by laying out a nice straight line path. And we can actually start. There's no penalty to choosing these different things. It'll just be a skin. So we could have bricks, we could have gravel paths, stone paths, metal paths, a different color wood for the different factions, frog path, I don't know what that's about, plastered wood for both of the factions. So let's just go ahead and start out instead of having this, like, whatever dirt sand thing. Let's see what this gravel path looks like. Just come all the way down here. Yeah, so that's a little bit more of a kind of a finished texture there, as opposed to something like, say, this right here. I don't know. I mean, it's fine, but try something a little differently here when we're going for our aesthetic-minded playthrough. So, of course, let's not get too turned around here. The water is coming in from here and flowing this way. So if we are going to build a dam just right off the bat, we'll probably want it to be right here to start with, and then keep on moving down this way as the gameplay permits. So in keeping in mind with aesthetically focused things, we have ideas that we could follow, like symmetry, or different kinds of, well, I guess I could have said different kinds of symmetry instead of just symmetry in general. But I kind of like the idea of things that are matching on both sides. So I guess that's, what is that, bilateral symmetry? It's been a long time since I've taken geometry class or anything like that. But stuff that has some sort of a pattern to follow, I think, is always nice. And there's different things we're going to explore as well. But let's go ahead and get this path down. We're already good to go. We need to make sure we have water and food taken care of. And of course, right at the start, it's not going to look great right away because, of course, the focus is on actually getting something done and making sure everybody can survive. Obviously, normal mode, it's really not that big of a deal. But we're going to go ahead and start out with a water pump right here. Make sure we remember which path we've been using here. So we'll get this guy right there, and then we'll start getting our lumberjack action going. I think we'll probably want, let's see if I can get all of this in one spot here. What? Oh, this lets this flood back here. We'll want to go ahead and get to that. I didn't know that was there. Let's see how far out. I'll just put this guy, say, right here, just for the sake of having a straight path. Get a lumberjack going. We'll go ahead and get a farm started as well. Don't worry, we will be making this look a little nicer when that time comes. I just want to make sure we get a good start, so we're not going to be at a disadvantage when it comes to, actually playing the game. So we'll go ahead and turn all of this into carrots just to start. Again, this is the Folktails faction, so we don't have to worry about berries for breeding purposes, which is another great reason to choose these guys. If I can hit the correct key to rotate the thing. which is actually something I wanted to bring up. We have, I believe, yeah, I have the Flip Buildings mod installed, so if I hit the F key, I can change the orientation of a building. And so you can have something like this where they're mirrored, which is going to really, really help with symmetrical builds. And for right now, I'm going to have 2 different farmhouses with 1 person apiece, and grow that as necessary. Just we have that ready to go. Again, we only have 7 adult beavers to start with, and we're really going to want to maximize the utility of each of those guys. We have 1 working here, 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 and then 2 working here gets us to 7, and that's going to have our food and our water covered, at least in this exact little bit right here. Of course, we have the gather a flag guy, which I will take from the district center as soon as everything else is built. And actually, we can go ahead and start with 4 of these guys, because obviously they're not going to need to occupy the jobs until everything is constructed. So let's go ahead and get this thing rolling along. They're going to be gathering these trees just as soon as I tell them what to cut, because definitely forgot to do that, but that is a-okay. We'll just get this all marked. We'll have different areas for tree farms eventually as well. So get them going there. And as soon as they get enough trees to start doing a farmhouse, we'll be in good shape with that. I do want to get the farmhouse built before I do build any storage, just so we can start growing food as fast as possible, and then move on to other things in our lives. Of course, it's a slow process, because you can only build what you have access to. And right now, these guys are focused on doing other stuff, like, you know, actually cutting the trees down. And building the water pump, because, you know, that's kind of important. So we'll go ahead and mark this as an important job. This guy will come down here and start doing that. And another thing, since I don't think I brought this up yet, the part of the functionality of some of the mods I've installed is to automate things. Like the, there's a mod that will do, I think it's automating floodgates, but this also allows us to control the water pumps in very, very useful ways. So I can pause it when a drought starts. I can unpause it when a drought starts. Pause it when a drought ends. Unpause when a drought ends. I can also put stuff on a timer. Again, this is related to the floodgate mod. And I can also, there's all sorts of different stuff we're going to get to when we get a little bit further on in the playthrough. It's going to become a very, very useful tool, and really make mid and late game, I think, a lot easier to manage, and just make it a little bit more enjoyable to play when focusing on not just the pure utility of the different functions in the game. So let's get this guy to work, start getting some water. And I believe this farmhouse should be done hopefully soon. Let's go ahead and put this on 3 times speed. I'm going to try not to use 3 times speed quite as much as I have in the past, which is basically all the time. So if we're going to focus on, eventually once the game is up and running, getting the aesthetic desirability of the city as our primary focus, then just speeding through stuff really isn't the best way to go. It's not going to be very pleasing to look at if they're just, you know, turbo rolling all over the entire map. This is just about done. We'll get these guys going. And I think now is about the time to get that set down. And we'll get this guy working in here. And as soon as this is complete, we'll fill that up as well. See, we already have a ton of food just by virtue of starting out with a whole bunch of berries. But getting these carrots planted is going to be very important. This guy's getting right to work. So while they're taking care of that, go ahead and talk about what our goals for the rest of today are going to be. Again, my episodes are usually about an hour long. That's probably about how long we'll play. We might not get quite to an hour today. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens as we go about our business here. But I would like to get a dam built here so we can retain a little bit of water. It's going to be a secondary goal to everything else, of course, once we get a little bit more stored up in terms of food and water, of course, which involves placing things like water tanks, of course. Very important. So we'll go ahead, in the absence of being able to click on anything, in the absence of the resources to build these bigger tanks, of course, we're going to have to actually have gears and planks, and then later on metal as well. It's important to prioritize these things. And we should be there pretty much. So let's go ahead. I think we shouldn't get a drop for another couple days, at least on normal mode. So let's go ahead and put this guy right here, just all the way across. And of course, since we're in update 3, we can retain some of the resources if we choose to demolish stuff. I believe it's 75%. So there's not as much of a penalty now for trying new things, which is fantastic, and I think is really going to help us in an aesthetically minded playthrough versus just maximum efficiency all the time. Which, you know, is fun in its own way, but stuff has to look nice too, right? We're already starting to store some water, and that's going to be doing just fine. We also have these piles for different logs and stuff we have to start doing at some point as well. And again, this is all going to change as soon as we have a good handle on stuff to make things look a little bit nicer. But the early stages are kind of always going to be ugly, just by virtue of, you know, what we have to do to function, right? So we'll just pop this right here. I think we'll make that into carrot storage. And we're already getting our dam in place over here. And pretty soon we're going to want to go ahead and build some lodges as well. And I think we can actually probably pretty much right from the start make a nice looking little lodge setup. We'll put it up here. Now, in preparation for this video, I did do a little bit of research into some different aesthetic building techniques. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out to, I believe the channel is called Timberborn Tips and Tricks, formerly going by It's ZD. So go check out his channel. He's got a lot of really nice videos explaining different things about the game and give me some good ideas for different aesthetic things as well. So I'll leave a link in the description for you to go check his videos out. But I think what we're going to go ahead and want to do is set up a little section of lodges here. Just like this, create kind of a little U shape. So each of these is 3. Of course, we're not going to be occupying all of these at once. But this gets us to 12, this gets us to 15, this gets us to 18. We currently have 11. And I believe I can go ahead and... Actually, I kind of like the idea of having the doors spaced out a little. That's the wrong button to do. Yeah, I like the idea of having the doors spaced out a little bit. So what you end up having here is you have a nice courtyard in the middle that we can do some nice stuff with. We can even choose a different path. We can have our regular path, we have our gravel path. We could even have like bricks or stone or some type of wood in here. I have no idea what the frog path is. We might mess with that at some point. But I kind of like the idea in a nice like finished villa style thing. Maybe a nice stone path would look good. So you zoom in on that and it's kind of like bricks almost. And we don't have a lot of aesthetic stuff figured out quite yet, but this would be a great place to put in some bushes and some benches and, you know, just different things that are going to make stuff look a little nicer. Of course, we can always change different paths to different things as time goes along. So I think what we'll go ahead and do, just have this all set up. Again, this is not the most direct, perfect path, and that's fine, because we're going to try and make stuff look a little nicer. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to be something that is, I think, a little bit more pleasant to look at, and people can enjoy. So another thing we need to go ahead and do is start to get some science done, because we do have 11 adults, and they're not all working right now because we've been kind of focused on getting everything else set up, and I've been doing a whole lot of talking, which, you know, has its own merits, but the end of the day, there is, you know, other stuff in the game to play. So we'll go ahead and get this warehouse all finished up. Of course, it's waiting for these lumberjacks to, you know, get on their thing. Of course, we have this dam in line first. And we do have room to take care of a little bit more harvesting of carrots before things get a little too dicey. So I'm not worried about this being super high priority right at this exact moment. But it is going to be nice to have inventors. And these beavers are going to start dying soon. So we do have to get these lodges in place. We should have a couple of older beavers, I think. And you want to get ahead of that, especially because in this faction you have to have lodging to actually make more beavers. And that is going to be a very important thing. So you see, coming up sun on day 9 soon. I don't remember in normal when the first drought normally happens. I think it's somewhere in like the 12 to 15 day range. I could have gone easy, but I feel like that would be kind of a cop-out after playing so much hard mode. Actually, we could have, while we're waiting, we can have these guys taking a job up in the district center. Then hurry up and get this whole dam done. Put in a path across the bridge here. This guy's sitting on a whole stack of berries. Well, I can't really make him do anything else, so I guess he just gets to sit here. Yeah, that's fine. So our lumberjacks actually aren't working very fast, are they? I could and probably should have another lumberjack set up here, which we can easily do. Just get them all working together. Again, we have this entire thing set up for cutting. And as soon as we get some science, we're going to start planting more trees because, you know, we kind of need those. But we're doing okay. Everything is just fine. And now, since we are playing the Folktails faction, we do have access to the power wheel and the water wheel, as well as windmills a little bit later on once we have that technology unlocked. I just figured the aesthetically minded playthrough probably isn't going to work well with the Iron Teeth because they have a bunch of brutish, ugly machinery, which is very efficient and very useful if you want to have an industrial powerhouse society, but isn't quite as aesthetically pleasing as a windmill or just a simple water wheel. And I know they have the large water wheel, which is actually very useful, but we've been playing so much hard mode that it really just hasn't been the most useful thing to have those giant water wheels. Yeah, look, they're going to go ahead and fill those carrots right up and then get started building these lodges up here. So I do like this this stone path. It's going to be really nice once we actually have some decorations put in place. And I have an idea to use the some of the trees that we're harvesting as decorations themselves. Again, that's something in one of the Timberborn tips and tricks videos. So I encourage you to either pause now and go watch that, or go watch it after you're finished with this video. There's some good information in there. We're going to be making use of a lot of those techniques. But now we have lodges, and within a short period of time, we should have enough for them to start making more beavers. Eventually, I want to put in all sorts of decorative stuff. But again, you know, we have to research it. So your stuff like your fences and even beaver statues and roofing and everything is all going to have to come with time. But hey, now we have some happiness in Beaverland. And that'll keep going up as we get our different things figured out. And once we're pretty stable, I do want to expand into different other types of food. And eventually turn the food growing into, I guess, kind of like an emulation of a farm type thing where you have, like, I don't know, a lodge, a farmhouse, and different crops in some sort of a, like a self-contained thing inside of some fences with maybe that Dutch windmill we were talking about. Which thing was it? It was in the food thing? Yeah. the Dutch windmill, which of course I can't show you because I don't have it researched yet. But, you know, just a little bit more realistic, kind of homey, lived-in feeling part of the map versus just, hey, I have to put this here so the conditions in the game are fulfilled and we can advance to the next thing, which is fun. But we've done a whole lot of that. I've made, oh man, I don't even want to think about how many Timberborn videos I've made in the past 3 months. But trying new stuff is always nice, right? So we can take advantage of new opportunities given to us and figure out new ways to enjoy playing the game. And here comes that drought, and I'm glad we have this dam set up. And this guy pumping along got plenty of water to have 11 beavers survive. That is going to be fantastic once we're done with that. And we actually haven't built any teeth grindstones yet, which is absolutely my bad. But we'll go ahead and hyper prioritize that. These poor beavers are suffering from not having enough, I guess, tooth health. Now they can take care of that need. And now they can start building these inventor huts because we are rapidly running out of wood and we definitely need science points to unlock the forester to plant more wood and continue growing. So I believe, yeah, this is the first one. This will be the first one that comes in. We've got a nice start on our storage for our carrots. Got a nice start on water storage. Again, we're going to be expanding as we're able to. It just takes time to get started right from square one. But I like where this is going. We're in a good spot. I'm really excited to get to building levees up here because there's some really cool stuff. I wish I could show you, but I can't because it's not unlocked yet. But there's all these different dam pieces. And then, of course, metal floodgates and everything. You have levees, you have diagonal levees, corners, different things. You have, okay, I think they spelled triple wrong. 1P. But there's a 3x3, which is just kind of like a big slab wall. 2x2. And then, you know, all sorts of fun stuff. I spent a little bit of time in a creative mode world. Just, well, I guess it's not really creative mode. It's just using the dev tools to turn rules off. But I did spend some time poking around and seeing what might look interesting and fun. So we'll have some neat stuff in this area. I kind of want to do some sort of like a terraced system, almost like a system of locks, if you're familiar with those from maybe looking at the Panama Canal or the British Canal waterways and everything. There's all sorts of really, really cool ideas we can take advantage of, especially when we get into terraforming and dynamite. Lots and lots of cool stuff. Plus the height elevation change in this part of the map I think is really cool. I'm very excited to get to that. But we have these inventors now. So let's go ahead and take these guys out of the district center and get everybody working on science. And look at that go up. So we're going to go ahead and want to get started on stuff that's going to allow us to, you know, do science. And we're going to want to go ahead and get a lumber mill going. So I think what we're going to do, try to set this up in a way where it's not going to be detrimental to the future of stuff here. If I put a water wheel right here, it's not going to turn very well because the water is not going to flow past it. So really what I need to be doing, now here comes the drought, so I guess water wheel's not going to do anything anyway. But what I need to be doing is putting a water wheel like somewhere right about here or maybe a little bit further in once we get to that point. Or what we could do is just put this guy right in front of the dam, just build one here, because of course they're going to be able to access it from right here. So that is a fantastic idea. And then come right across the other side here and put in a lumber mill directly connected. And that will be a very efficient use of resources and space to start this off. And then we can figure out a way to make this look nice, maybe a little bit further on. But we already have enough science to go ahead and unlock the forester, so let's go ahead and do that. And we'll pick a nice spot to put him, which is going to most likely end up being right here. Let's just do, for the sake of actually having access to stuff. We'll put that right here. Of course, as you might have noticed, this needs planks, which we can't make until we have a lumber mill, which we can't use until it's powered by a water wheel. Fortunately, the droughts are very short in normal mode, never really get longer than about a week, so having the water wheel is going to be a good way to take advantage of that. And one water wheel is said to make somewhere around 90 horsepower. So we'll let them finish this. This building, of course, requires only 50. So theoretically, we could have 2 of these going, but we don't have enough beavers really to do too much more than we are already doing. So we'll just go ahead and make sure that we are doing what we can when we can. Just got to get them getting more of these logs taken care of. We'll have plenty to build the water wheel and to build the lumber mill, and then not really too much else until we have this forester actually constructed and planting stuff. And that's part of the fun of the early game, is figuring out how to balance what you build and when. Not always the greatest at it, but there's always some sort of different way to start doing stuff. So in the meantime, let's start planting some more crops. I feel like planting maybe some potatoes would be smart, because we can go ahead and build a grill without actually having to research anything. And of course, there's different things we can do to make stuff look a little nicer, and this is probably all going to be torn down at one point when we get there. So we'll just go ahead right now and focus on just having it in place, ready to go. Set this up to potatoes. And we can actually designate the areas and the types of trees before we actually get to the point of being able to use those. So what I was thinking, over here in this little courtyard area, kind of lining it with trees around the outside, kind of putting different things in different spots, and kind of alternating maples and chestnuts is a nice mature tree kind of mix and match here. So just like what I saw in that tips and tricks video, just do a little X pattern like this with different things. Provides a little bit of variety that is interesting to look at, and makes stuff a lot nicer just in general. And of course, we'll put some pine trees around the outside as well, just like so. And this kind of creates a little homey feeling area here. And then when we get decorations unlocked, we can put roofs on top of this and go from there and do all sorts of other stuff. And we are steadily accumulating science, so we might get there sooner rather than later, especially in an aesthetically minded playthrough where we're not just trying to speed run getting the last monument built. Again, nothing wrong with that, but we are going to try the different approach here. Alright, so it says, oh, it could get required materials. Well, we have... Actually, they can't reach these. Okay. Well, that is good to know that we didn't get there. So let's go ahead and, just for right now, pause 2 of these guys and put in... Nope. Put in... That's the wrong button. There we go. Put in another set of these guys. I guess I could just put one here because it's already on a path. Then come here and put one right there. It's not going to get us all the way into the corner here, but we're not going to need that many logs anyway. How are we doing on our construction here? Yeah, we need 26 more for the water wheel. Then we'll need another 15 for the lumber mill. That will be a-okay. We just have to get these guys working on their stuff. And we have plenty of food. Water supply is good enough for now. As we grow, we are going to be making better use of the water stuff, especially when we get this area dammed up. We'll be able to store and make use of plenty of water. But again, for right now, there's not really too much we can do because we just haven't unlocked everything yet. It's just a whole lot of cutting. Just gradually getting our resources to build everything up. So now we have carrots and we have some potatoes, and then hopefully sooner rather than later we'll have enough logs to build the grill. It's not the end of the world if we don't have everything set up once a particular food is finished. It just means it won't be harvested. And since we have this dam here, it shouldn't, in normal mode, it shouldn't ever be long enough to let the stagnant water that's one tile deep dry out. Because I think that takes somewhere in the realm of 20 days, maybe a little bit more than that. And I don't think any of these droughts get longer than 9, which is very good for us to, you know, not have to worry about any of that. Now, you might be saying, hey, you planted a bunch of trees, but this is a dry area and you got nothing going on. You'd be correct. So we're going to want to look into maybe trying some irrigation towers or anything like that. Obviously, we can't use 20,000 science. But we have this irrigation tower V2 for 400. That could be worth looking at. Of course, we have to get our planks and our gears in place first. And then this, I believe, is the original irrigation tower to the game, which is 20 planks and 15 logs that we might end up building. But we have our water wheel, and it is rotating. Yeah, generating, well, I guess the speed varies, which is unfortunate for this. But now they're actually making planks, which means pretty soon we'll have... Well, this guy says there's nothing to do in range. There will be soon. We just need these planks for our forester here. And they can get going. So they're already trying to plant here. Of course they can't because, you know, there's no water over here. But in the meantime, we can have them plant stuff over here. We're going to have a healthy mix for right now of, say, pines, a couple of columns of birches, just because those are faster growing. We're not going to have those forever, except for aesthetic purposes. And then a bit longer term, come over here with some maples. We're also going to want to go ahead and mark this for demolishment, but we don't have any pathway over here. So I think this actually is going to have to be... Yeah, we'll get rid of this path. Or maybe we won't actually. We can just kind of leave this in place. There's no reason not to. We could actually turn this into a separate type of tree. We could do some chestnuts over here because we can actually... We'll do chestnuts right here because we can harvest those. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll put maples on this side. Yep, there we go. Just finish this whole area out. And obviously the forester isn't even built yet, so we're maybe a little bit ahead of ourselves, but they just have that one... Oh, it's actually already done. Yeah, now this guy is planting closest to furthest, which is exactly the way I wanted with how I had these laid out. And now, hey, guess what? Problem partially solved by having this area flood with water. We now have this over here they can take care of. And we just have to have an irrigation tower on this side or figure something else out to get going with that. And here come our potatoes. And we do have a grill set up. We're going to, hopefully by the time stuff actually is harvested in a meaningful amount, have enough beavers to work in these different jobs and make sure everything's all good to go. So I think we can probably pretty safely just leave this operating to make more planks, because we're going to have a whole lot of wood. Probably within the next cycle we'll start harvesting some of these birch and pine trees that are currently being planted. And we can focus instead on some other stuff, like finding storage for our potatoes, which we will go ahead and do in a warehouse right here. Actually, I want to store grilled potatoes, because the regular potatoes can just go straight into the grill here, and then they can be finished and popped in to right here. Now we have a lumberjack flag here that I think I'm going to go ahead and I guess I don't have to get rid of it because there's still some trees growing, but we will be eventually organizing that as well with our forestry areas kind of blending in, kind of like what we've been doing, or I've been trying to do up here, kind of blending trees and living spaces, create stuff that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, which is always nice to see. Got planks working. We got some potatoes stored up. And as soon as we get a guy in here to actually grill, which I might just go ahead and prioritize the job. Let's see what else I can get these guys to do here. Probably smarter to just make the inventors lower priority jobs, as we've done sometimes in the past, to make sure that the other stuff gets taken care of first. We'll go ahead and get these potatoes grilled. Looks like they're already well on their way. So we've got berries, we've got carrots, we've got grilled potatoes, and we can also eventually get into wheat and then aquatic farming as well. And there's our additional happiness, which is, you know, always fun. Now let's take a look at our science. We have 470. I could use this guy, or we could come over here to our irrigation tower V2. We're going to have planks, and well, we have some planks now. We're going to have gears probably pretty soon, and we need to have gears anyway to build these larger water things. So we'll go ahead and unlock this. Obviously, we can't build it yet, but just to give you an idea of power of modded gameplay, this is a modded item. This has a much larger radius. So we could actually put something like this. It would be really great in an area like this if you wanted to cover most of the map. But for now, I think it would be probably best suited in somewhere in the middle of right here, maybe. So we might actually just go ahead and place that there. Of course, you can tie that into a different kind of a farm-themed area if you wanted to. It seems like a very natural building to find in a place like that. But now that that is placed down, we are going to have to come over here and start adding more stuff, like maybe another water wheel, which we again can do because it's right in front of the dam. We've got our lumber mill right here. And it's probably smart for us to build a second lumber mill before we do a single gear workshop. Just because, you know, if you've seen my other videos, I tend to overbuild later technologies and ignore the already existing ones. And that is just not very much fun for everybody involved. Plus, we have to research the gear workshop, although I do have the science for it, so, you know, we might as well just go ahead and do that. Place that guy right there. Of course, they're going to build this water wheel first. And hopefully, this will be enough to power everything. Obviously, it's not all going to be going at the same time, which is perfectly fine. We're about halfway through our birch growing here. And up here, we have these trees planted. They'll take some time to grow. And this area is still in need of some aesthetic-minded stuff. So if we come over here to our different roofing tiles, we're going to obviously make use of the 2x2, but we can also make use of these other ones once we get the ability to upgrade our science stuff to unlock all that. But for right now, looks like we are in pretty good shape, especially since we're more or less out of wood until some of this stuff grows up. We do have a few of these that we haven't been able to cut because nothing's in range, although right here, this guy should... Oh, that wasn't marked for cutting. Okay. Well, that was a good thing I checked on that, because now we can actually cut that. I guess I can mark those as cuttable as well. Our forester guy hasn't planted everything yet, which is, I guess, to be expected. They go in a radius based around the center of their item, or center of their building, rather. So that's why we have kind of this diagonal looking thing here. Yeah, there he is working, doing his thing. Got 19 more logs for the water wheel. It's going to take a while because we're waiting on trees to actually grow and be cut. Yeah, it should just be a couple more days and that will be taken care of. While they're doing so, we have plenty of grilled potatoes we've got stored up in here. Harvest seems to be working nicely for that. So, since we have some extra time while we're waiting, go ahead. We have 144 science. Let's go ahead and unlock early some of this aesthetically minded stuff, because that also gives boost to beavers, right? So you want to take a good look at that early game. Could be a beneficial thing to explore. So go ahead and unlock this, I believe, a 2x2. This could be the first one we want to unlock. And we can either build this way or we can build this way. I kind of like the idea of building like this, then like that, and then maybe in a little bit getting into the different roof shapes as well with that. And that will give us a nice early boost. We'll come up with some other fun stuff to put in as well when we get to that point. And think of maybe a little bit nicer way to get in here, as opposed to just a random path connecting to one side of this. But that is going to give us a use for our planks as well, that we are very slowly making as we get into some of this other stuff. So I'm going to lower priority the gear workshop and the second lumber mill, just to try and get some of this stuff done a little faster. Of course, this isn't going to be built for quite some time because it needs gears and planks and, well, for this stage of the game, at least quite a few of them. Which is fine. Just manage your expectations as you're building and you should be okay. Now, benches don't have any bonus. They're just kind of an aesthetic thing, so I'm probably not going to unlock those next. Shrubs, however, good thing to plant in. Especially in something like this, you can create a nice kind of like a planter thing. And keep in mind, we're still in range of the farms up here, so if this is irrigated, I could even use crops as some sort of decorative thing. These potatoes, again, Timberborn tips and tricks, got some good stuff on the channel, alerted me to this idea using potatoes as possibly some sort of a shrub kind of substitute. Obviously, you have these things. These are going to be very low priority because they are taking up 12 logs and we don't have enough space for that. Oh, these guys are all thirsty. Well, that's no good. So it's probably time actually now to think about putting in a second water pump, which we can go ahead and easily do. Mark that as a higher priority construction. And then, of course, workplace as well. So we do have 2 unemployed beavers. So we can go ahead and employ, for the time being, put them in the district center so they can start actually, making stuff. Yeah, I don't think this water wheel is going to be built in time to really take full advantage of anything before the drought begins, which is, it's fine, whatever. I only expected us to get through 2 full cycles this first episode anyway. That seems to be about what the time duration ends up working out to. But now we have these birch trees that we can harvest and put into other stuff. And they're starting to build these roofing things as well. Give our beavers a little bit of a happiness boost. That's another fun thing about doing an aesthetic-minded playthrough is you're probably going to get a lot closer to that maximum happiness. I don't remember exactly what the number is. I think it's somewhere in the 50s. Maybe mid-50s, like 55. It's going to be a lot easier to get there because, again, if we take a look at this, a lot of this is based on fun, spirituality, awe, and aesthetics and everything. There's a lot of potential to get well-being points from all the stuff that we honestly don't really focus on too much in the other playthroughs that are just focused on getting stuff built and advancing the tech tree. So it's a good thing we put in this second pumping station right here because now we're starting to get a little bit more water stored up. Hopefully they can get some of this, I guess the logs are all going to this guy right here, the water wheel, which is fine because that's an important thing. I do want to get this built though, so hopefully they can get something figured out. because dry season is not really going to work because, again, that's not automatic power. Now, if we were to come in here and build a power wheel, then yes, that would be able to be used during the dry season. But I'm not particularly inclined to spend an entire beaver's day just running in a wheel to do other stuff. That's why the windmills are fun. And other stuff like that. Yeah, we're just at a very large lack of logs. Which is to be expected until some of this stuff grows. But good news is the pines will be done pretty soon. And before you know it, this episode will be over. But we are getting a lot done in our first little segment here. Stuff is looking quite nice indeed. Of course, the log storage isn't being used. Plank storage isn't an issue because we don't have enough planks. It just ends up being stored in the lumber mill until someone gets rid of it. But we'll go ahead, since we're already down here, go ahead and queue up a large pile for, say, planks right here. Just to put that in place, and here comes our drought, which of course means the water wheel is functionally useless. I was hoping that would be a little bit faster, but again, it's only a 3-day drought. It'll be over pretty soon. And then for this episode, we will be moving on. You'll have to catch it in the next one, but we're going to be set up pretty well to take care of some more early game stuff. And this is, while it is not, I guess, aesthetic, it is a little bit nicer looking than some of the other stuff I've made. And especially if we can get these roofing pieces put in, I think is going to be a very, very nice addition, make stuff look a lot better. So we're going to go ahead also and unlock some more of these pieces, like see, like right here. This is something that, well, obviously it's not centered, but this is something that has a little bit more of a different feel to it versus what I would normally put in. So I could do one of these, I could do one of these. I could just do 2 in the middle here, which is probably what we'll end up doing. We'll do that, and then we'll come across here and unlock this guy as well. And just do one of these. Why not? And that'll look quite nice. And we can also put this on top if we're able to get up to the other side there. But I think that looks quite nice. Once that is actually in place, that'll be something that's enjoyable to look at, which of course is one of our main goals, right? You know, we have these guys are just kind of chilling here. Okay, what are these guys building next? Is it, okay, it's these roof pieces, that's right. Now we're not going to be able to get these capstone pieces up here because we're not high enough yet. We have to build a staircase, which we will do. I guess probably next episode's a good place to look into that, because we have to unlock all of the stairs. We should be getting this from, yep, roof pieces. That's looking good. Still have plenty of berry. We actually don't have a storage for berries. It's only in the gatherer flag. So I guess there's really not a huge reason for us to have dedicated storage for berries because they are a pretty low-grade food. So we'll probably just leave that alone for right now. And try to get a little bit more stuff done. We are coming to the end of Cycle 2, which is going to mean the end of this episode. We're at almost an hour. Not quite. But we've gotten a decent bit of stuff done. We do have a pile here for planks. Got one for logs. Again, this is the Folktails faction, so these aren't stackable, so we're going to have to be careful. Obviously, we can relocate them, but we are going to want to try and make sure these are in good spots that aren't going to make things more difficult. So let's go ahead and take it out of crazy speed mode. Take a look at where we're at here. I obviously think this is a huge improvement early game versus just having something super ugly. It's too bad we couldn't get to our irrigation tower, but of course stuff takes time. And in the first episode, it's not really normal for us to get to a whole lot of really exciting, interesting stuff. But this is a good start, I feel like, and we'll be in a good position to move forward and make stuff that is hopefully a little more interesting to look at and not just focused on efficiency. Let's see, we have 116 science. Is there something else I can research early to try and get something nice looking? Could do... I don't have quite enough to do fences yet, but fences would make a big difference. Benches, I'm not going to do right now because they don't offer any tangible benefits besides just looking nice. But here comes the end of the drought, and that of course means that we are going to take that break with them as well and be back again tomorrow with more fun, aesthetic-minded Timberborn content. So again, thank you so much for watching these videos. I really, really appreciate it. It's so much fun to get to talk to you guys each and every day in the comment section. So if you have anything to say at all, comments, questions, concerns, think I've done something wrong, or have an idea that might be beneficial for the future of the playthrough, please let me know. I'm always open to comments and questions and anything else that's on your mind. I like to have an open dialogue with you guys because this is a Let's Play. It is not a watch me play, as some other people like to do. But I want this to feel like something that you have a little bit of agency in and enjoy some of your day watching these videos. You might as well have some sort of say in it, right? Because it's a lot. I've been putting out hour-long videos pretty much every day for the past 3 months, barring a couple of different pauses in between there. But I want this to be something that you guys can enjoy. So again, anything that's on your mind, feel free to drop a comment. I read every single one, and I try to respond to as many as I can. Of course, it's not always possible. I do get a high volume of comments now, much higher than I used to, which is awesome. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean I don't have all the time in the world to interact. Although I do, again, read every single one, and I like to respond when I can, when there's something relevant to add to discussion. So I look forward to discussing with you there, and I look forward to where we're going next in this series. Just as a heads up, I am going out of town for the end of the year, so I am going to pre-record a couple episodes before I leave, and I might be making a couple of videos from a hotel room here and there. But it's just so much fun to get to do this and enjoy talking about and playing the game with all of you. So, until next time, stay safe, have fun, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.